you need a little bit of luck with you. And we felt that through our whole championship run. You had to win 9 games in a row to win a championship. Every game felt special. It felt special to be with that group of girls. It felt special to travel to Sioux Falls on an airplane together. It felt special when that horn went off and that confetti came down. That group of girls, I will forever have a bond with them.
Welcome to the Power of PennWest. I'm your host, Dr. John Anderson, president of PennWest University. Whether you're a current student, a proud alum, or just curious about the PennWest community, welcome. Please stay tuned as we explore the stories, achievements, and experiences of the people who bring life to our campuses in California, Clarion, Edinboro, and online. Welcome to the Power of PennWest podcast. Today, we're getting the team back together on the Power of PennWest podcast as we welcome back 3 outstanding student-athlete alumni who have forged their own successful careers beyond the California, Clarion, and Edinboro campuses. College athletics often involves overcoming challenges, dealing with setbacks, and pushing through difficult times. These experiences build resilience and perseverance, qualities that are valuable in any career today. Today's 3 guests certainly exemplify these qualities. First, we have Kristin Day Shute. Kristin is one of the most accomplished women's student athletes in Clarion sports history. She was an 8-time, I'm going to say that again, an 8-time All-American and 3-time NCAA champion diver, and was named the 2015 NCAA Woman of the Year, the first from any Pennsylvania-based university. Following graduation, Kristin earned her Doctor of Osteopathy and is employed in the Penn State Health Network. Kristin, welcome today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that great introduction.
Next, we have Mickey Glenn, a 3-time NCAA Division II All-American and a national championship point guard from our California campus. As a sophomore in 2015, Mickey scored 31 points to lead the Vulcans to the NCAA Division II championship after graduating from California with 2,007 career points. Glenn joined the Fairmont State women's basketball coaching staff in 2019. Mickey, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
And finally, we have Dr. Corey Kilburn, a former Edinboro wrestler and current PennWest mathematics professor, who also coordinates the associate degree in aeronautical sciences program. His performance as a student athlete landed him on the Edinboro Wrestling all-time roster. Today, Dr. Kilburn teaches a variety of courses, including applied mathematics, probability, statistics, actuarial science, finance, and operations research. Dr. Kilburn, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you.
And you still look like you could walk right on the mat and do just fine.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I still compete sometimes, actually.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to hear from each of you about what your life has been like since you left one of the PennWest campuses. Often as an athlete, you have a lot of accolades, a lot of fame, a lot of glory. And then you take that last dive, make that last shot, rest of the last match. Then all of a sudden you walk in and become normal. And that's a hard adjustment for a lot of people. Kristin, let's start with you. When you graduated, what did you do between then and now?
It really was a huge adjustment, going from 2 to 3 practices a day and always being busy, having to worry about time management in undergraduate. Going on to medical school, it was a huge change. All of my time went from all of these different things. Now it was all just focused into medical school. So I thought the transition was good, and I learned a lot about, prioritizing my time and how to get things done whenever I was doing so many things while at Clarion. And then once I got to medical school, I kind of just focused all my time into medicine, which is what you're supposed to do whenever you're there. Once I got through my first 2 years of medical school, then you go on to clinical rotations. So during that time, kind of have some more freedom of your evenings and stuff. So I did go back to coaching gymnastics and getting back into coaching because I really enjoy that. But then after my 4 years of medical school, I started residency. So I did diagnostic radiology residency. So that's a total of 5 years. I did that at Penn State. Absolutely love Penn State. And then right now I'm currently finishing my fellowship year in musculoskeletal radiology. I'm doing that again at Penn State. I liked it too much to leave. So finishing up here, and then I'm actually heading back home, back to Western Pennsylvania again. So back towards Clarion to work. Finally be done. After 10 years, I'll finally be done and onto a big girl job. But throughout this whole trip, it's been great and definitely learned so much in undergrad. And it definitely helped me out to get to where I am.
Great. Thank you, Kristin. And that is a long journey. I have a son that just finished medical school and I have watched him. It is a hard drive.
Yeah. Whenever you're in it, you can just keep thinking about the light at the end of the tunnel. And truly, it's more of a time commitment than anything. I mean, the academics, it's tough, but it's more of the time commitment and, being pulled in multiple directions because you might have to move multiple times and not sure where you're going to be. So more of just the time commitment than anything, I think.
And you've done your residency and fellowship at Penn State. Where did you do medical school?
I did that in Erie, Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. I've never left Pennsylvania. I've always lived in PA and never plan to leave.
That's great. Mickey, let's go to you next. You are so lucky you've been able to stay close to your sport.
Yes. Actually, when I graduated my senior year, I tore my ACL. And the plan was to try to play basketball overseas. And I actually got a job at Mylan Pharmaceuticals because my degree is in chemistry and worked there for 6 months. Absolutely hated it. I missed basketball more than anything. And so after that, while I was training, I ended up doing like basketball skill work with kids, worked with all ages from kindergarten through high school, missed the team aspect of basketball, like being in a group of people and growing together and just going on that long journey of a season. Right before I was about to go overseas to play basketball, the opportunity to take this job came up. Stephanie Anderson got the head coaching job. She's a Cal graduate 4 years before me. We had the same coach and she reached out to her and suggested me as her assistant. She hired me immediately. Since then, it's been amazing to get to stay in basketball. It's been amazing to get to compete against Cal, to compete against the same coach that coached me. And she's been a huge mentor for me in this position. And we call her all the time. And it's been amazing. I met my wife my freshman year at Cal. We've been together ever since. We have two little beautiful boys, and getting to watch them grow up every day, getting them to come to practice and be around the girls and experience college athletics from a young age has been amazing. And I'm super thankful for my time at Cal and what it's given me and the mentors that I've got there. And to get to compete at the same level on this side of coaching has been really cool.
That's great. Talk to us about that transition from being the one on the court with the ball in your hands to sitting on the side. And really the only thing you can do is yell or call a timeout.
Yeah.
What is that transition like for you?
It's very difficult. Yeah. At first, I expected everyone to play and think like me, and that's not the case at all. The hardest thing is when you're a player, you think about yourself, right? You're like, what do I have to do to make my team successful? But as a coach, you have to worry about everything. That's kind of hard to understand, like going from playing to coaching. But, I'm 6 years in now, and the best part is the relationships you get to build. And when I was a player, I was a point guard, so my job was to make sure everyone was on the same page. But as a coach, your job is to grow young women. And that has been the main difference. And it's being a coach has been more rewarding than being a player, just because you get to see that growth and you get to be a part of it. And, when they graduate and hug you and say thank you, like there's nothing more gratifying than that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Mickey. All right, Dr. Kilburn, talk us through your journey from graduation to today.
After finishing at Edinboro, that was in 1999, went to Miami University in Ohio for operations research, was there for a couple of years. And even while I was there, I was still involved with some wrestling and did the club and even did a couple tournaments. But, once you finish at the university, team sports it kind of goes away unless you are fortunate enough to be a coach. And so luckily for me, I ran into someone while I was still at Miami, and I got involved with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is kind of close to wrestling. And I became heavily involved with that ever since then. So I started that in January of 2002. Now I actually run a little club up at Edinboro. There's a jiu-jitsu club. We meet a couple times a week. We've managed to I've used like student government funds to bring like top world contenders in and do seminars. I've grown myself, like I'm a 2-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu now. And it kind of filled the void of not being able to like wrestle anymore. And I still try to be sort of involved with the Edinboro wrestling team and of course the local high school wrestling team, even after all these years. After I finished at Miami, I taught and worked for a little while, and then I went to University of Akron, got a PhD in mechanical engineering and applied math, and a second master's, and that one's in applied math. And before now, working at Edinboro. So, and I love it here. I'm from here. I grew up in the area, and I really can't be happier with my spot here. So,
Edinboro is a beautiful place.
mm-hmm.
So talk to us a little about this jiu-jitsu. I've got some family members that are into it. And when I watch that, it just looks like two people on a mat seeing who can pass out first.
Well, snap, nap, or tap, right? That's what they say. Essentially, it's just a martial art where the idea, in wrestling, the idea is to pin your opponent, scoring points, but you're trying to pin them onto their back. And with jiu-jitsu, the idea is to make them submit from either they think they're going to be choked out or something is going to get broken. So it's a tap out sport. There's no striking in jiu-jitsu. It's all like holds and positioning. I think what I like about jiu-jitsu the most is you can do it into your older ages. Wrestling's so explosive and it's really hard on your body. Jiu-jitsu is a little more, I think it's fun. It's very cerebral, not just physical. I think it's also fun that I can still compete with people in their 20s and teach them things that I've picked up along the way. And I've made a lot of great friends through jiu-jitsu. A lot of great people practice jiu-jitsu. And I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of them.
That's great. Thank you. So the three of you had this incredible experience as a college athlete. And now you walk around a hospital, a gym, classes on campus, and people see you and they think you're like an ordinary person. And you have this idea in your mind that, hey, they don't really understand who I was once. So I'm going to give you an opportunity and a microphone to relive those glory days for a little bit. So take us back to freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. Brag on yourself a little bit. Give us some highlights from your career when you think, I wish my kids, grandkids, great-great-grandkids could have seen me when I fill that in for us. Kristin, let's start with you.
Back to what you're saying, freshman, sophomore year, I was still competing trampoline, actually. I did trampoline as well as a sport. So I competed both diving and trampoline my freshman and sophomore year, and I actually was not that great at diving. Coach Dave Rovat at Clarion, he's a legend. He really turned my gymnastics and trampoline background into diving. So whenever I started there, I really didn't know too much about diving. So Mickey was talking about growth of the athlete, and truly that's what he did with all of us. But for me, I came in just, being a gymnast, and so he turned me into this diver that first year, freshman year at nationals, I got second on 3 meter. And after prelims, I think I came in first after prelims, but I was like shocked. I went into nationals with no idea where I was going to be. He didn't tell me. I didn't do any research or anything. And I came out of prelims in first, and I was like, whoa. And he was just like, yeah, I knew this was where we were going to be. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? And so I ended up second, which was great as a freshman and, having no idea what was going on. Then sophomore year, I was still in trampoline. I put a little bit more time in trampoline my sophomore year. So I think I dropped a little bit in place as a sophomore at nationals. Then I retired from trampoline after that year. So junior year, I put all of my focus into diving. It was a fantastic year. We had a great team of boys and great team of girls that year. And at nationals, it was in Ohio, so it was closer, so more family could come. I pulled it all together on both boards. I won both 1 meter and 3 meter that year, and it was incredible. The boys also won 1 meter and 3 meter, so we had a full sweep. It was incredible. You talk about the team aspect. Diving and gymnastics are both different in that it is an individual sport, but, getting to share that with teammates was fantastic. We had a lot of fun. So yeah, junior year was probably the highlight of my career. And then senior year, I won 1 meter again. And then my final meet did not go the best that I would hope. I made a mistake, so I didn't end up winning again on 3 meter. And I feel I'm a little upset about that one. I think about it quite often. But
10 years later, you can't do it.
It's fine. This is about the highlights, so we'll let it go. I still ended up getting everywhere I needed to be, so it was fine. And it was definitely a growing process. But then even after that, so then in October, after I graduated, was the Woman of the Year celebration. It's a huge celebration in Indianapolis, and it was incredible. So they take the top 30 nominees to Indianapolis to a dinner, and just meeting all the girls there was incredible. The amount of talent and intelligence and it's also in volunteer work. So just all the giving that happens and the people that you meet there was so humbling. And then at that dinner, they announced the Women of the Year. Nobody knows until that night at dinner. So whenever they called my name, that was a moment I'll never forget. I really was not expecting to win among amazing athletes. There's Olympians there, professional golfers, people, again, going on to medical school like me. And I was very surprised to hear my name, but it was humbling and it was fantastic. My family was there. So something I'll never forget. And that whenever everything came together about all the hard work that I put into both academics and athletics and undergrad. So that award really pulls it all together for me and something that I hope I can pass on to my kids. Going on to how you say you walk through the hospital and nobody really knows. Funny, somebody just recently brought it up that did know, and somebody that did not know was like so shocked, and she looked things up on YouTube and stuff, and I was like, oh gosh, this is kind of embarrassing because I have some pretty embarrassing interviews. But now anytime she sees me, she's like, you're a superstar, and I'm like, oh stop, no I'm not, I'm just normal now. But it is funny that people don't realize, and then whenever they do, they're like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I'm like, I'm pretty ordinary now, but I was a pretty good athlete at one point in my life. But no, it was a great journey.
That's great. Thanks, Kristin. We'll be right back after this message.
At Penn West University, we're making college make sense again for people who maybe thought college wasn't the answer. We're making college practical with programs tied to in-demand jobs that prepare you for success right away. We're making college accessible by breaking down barriers and offering more choices. We're making college approachable with faculty who understand where you're coming from and help you get where you're going. At Penn West, we're making college valuable again for people just like you. Learn more at pennwest.edu.
Mickey, when you see your kids walking the basketball court, watching them practice, you're like, yeah, you should have seen me in the day. Is that what you tell them?
No, not yet. One day. My freshman year, well, I'll start by why I chose Cal. I chose Cal because it's an hour and a half away from my home, so it's far enough away that I felt like I was going somewhere, but close enough that my dad could still come to watch. And the coach there, Coach Jess Strom, she is phenomenal. When I sat and talked to her, I felt like I was talking to someone that actually knew the game of basketball, was passionate, and just her energy was energy I wanted to be around. And I wanted to win. When you go to Cal, women's basketball has a very storied history. You walk in and you see all these records, you see Elite Eights, you see the former national championship team from 2004, and I wanted to win. So I get there my freshman year. I didn't start, which was hard. And I was like, all right, I'm going to sit here, pay my dues, whatever happens this year. We start the year 0-5. And I was like, I didn't come here to lose. But Coach Jess pulled me into her office and she told me I was going to start after that. And I started every game after that in my career there. And we finished that year. I think we were like 19-10 or 20-10 or something like that, which is a good season, but by Cal standards, it was not. We missed the NCAA tournament, which I learned. I didn't know it at the time. I learned that was not the thing you did at Cal. Going into my sophomore year, we had a better team. We had good leadership. Well, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. January of my sophomore year, I had a teammate that passed away during the year, and that was an amazing teaching lesson for our team. We came together. It was one of the hardest moments that we had to go through, still to this day. We had to take 4 days off. Gannon refused to move our game. And so we had to show up on a court 3 days after our teammate passed away to play. And we ended up losing that game. But from then on, we made a decision as a team to come together. And we always felt that we had a presence with us. When you win championships, it's a little bit of luck, right? Like you put all in the hard work and you show up every day and you work hard and you need a little bit of luck with you. And we felt that through our whole championship run. You had to win 9 games in a row to win a championship. Every game felt special. It felt special to be with that group of girls. It felt special to travel to Sioux Falls on an airplane together. It felt special when that horn went off and that confetti came down. That group of girls, I will forever have a bond with them. I mean, we still text each other to this day. No matter how close I was with any of the girls on the team, we have a special bond that no one can replicate. You can't explain it to people that weren't in that room, but that was truly an amazing season and experience for that group of girls. Moving my junior year, we start the season off unveiling our banner, and you could not replace that kind of confidence that most of my team had. We lost a lot of seniors that year, but going into that year, I was like, my mentality was like, well, I already won the championship, so like, what else do I have to lose? We end up winning the conference championship again for the second time in a row. My junior year, I proposed to my wife after we won the conference championship on our home floor in Hamer Hall, which caused a big stir, which was a lot of fun. But after that, my senior year, I tore my ACL in the first playoff game. I got to watch a team that I had been a part of continue to win, and I got to help them from the sidelines, which is a huge part of why I wanted to be a coach. Obviously, it wasn't fun, but to be a part of a team that continued to accomplish things, no matter who was on the floor, was amazing and speaks to the culture that was built at Cal. I walked away with over 2,000 points, a couple of championships, a lot of rings, and very proud to have been a part of a forever culture that past players, future players always talk about. Even to this day, even competing against Cal, I know what it's like to be in those girls' shoes, and I feel very proud whenever they accomplish everything, except for when it's against us. But I still root for them as long as, it doesn't directly affect my team, but I still root for them to this day. My coach was an amazing mentor, and she continues to be, and I'm just super thankful for my time that I got to be at Cal and be around those people. It's not about the wins and losses, as amazing as those things were. It was about the people and the time that I got to spend there and the growth that I got to experience, and the impact that I hope I had on people's lives and the impact that those people had on me.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mickey. Corey, your turn. Share us the glory days.
Well, it's kind of funny when you say, sometimes people look at you and don't really know who you are, where you've been. They look at their coach, they look at their professor, they look at their doctor, they look at the president of their university. And I think sometimes people have an idea that things have just always been easy, or you've just always been good at this thing and you've just lucked out in a way. I don't know. I think that it's important for people to understand, like, everybody has their own trials. Everyone has their own major problems that they're dealing with at the time that they have to deal with themselves. And everyone, if you're going to succeed, then it's important that you persevere. I remember when I was just wrestling in high school, I did okay. I went to Edinboro. I went to Edinboro because it was local and that's where I lived. And I remember I was up there for like an admission day or something. And I was just walking back to another building. I just happened to run into the assistant coach at the time on the wrestling team. His name is Tim Flynn. And I knew him just through other things I did through wrestling. And he encouraged me to come over and sort of be a part of the team as a freshman. That's really how it started with me to be involved with wrestling at Edinboro. Went over there, and of course, everybody knows it's hard. It's like a full-time job when you're on a collegiate sports team. It just sort of went from there as far as how wrestling happened. But like other things happen along the way. Like I worked on a farm. I milked cows in the morning and in the evening. I baled hay. I was just a laborer, during the summer times, especially, things like that. I ended up being an exchange student. I learned French and I took a year in France. I even now speak French and Russian. Since then I taught English as a foreign language in Ukraine. A lot of times one thing leads to another, and I was never afraid to kind of not be afraid to go through the open door just to see what would happen next. Like my students, like I know that I'm lucky. I get exposed to a lot of different people every single semester. And I think they kind of have an idea like, oh, this has just always been simple. But they're not really seeing like those late nights where you're studying, you're hoping to make your own deadline, you're trying to learn it yourself, things, and it takes years and years. And then finally you get to a spot where you sort of get that taste of success from all this different work you put in. And the same, I think the mentality comes from even being in athletics in a sense. When I came to Edinboro to wrestle, my mentality really wasn't, honestly, I can't even say it was a winning mentality. It was just a learning mentality. I wanted to learn something. I felt like learning how to wrestle was a part of my education at Edinboro. and other things you pick up along the way just happen, you know. By the end of my time there, I made all these friends. Of the people that started wrestling in the year that I came in, only 3 of us made it through the entire 5 years, you know. It's sometimes just a battle of attrition. You have to persevere past the person that's right next to you. Just from that, almost process of elimination, you get to where you want to be.
That's great. Thank you. Let's shift gears for just a minute. We are now getting close to the beginning of fall semester, believe it or not. We got 4 weeks left in spring, then this thing we call summer, where we take a little bit of a slow break. But when fall semester shows up, we'll have 1,700 brand new freshmen across PennWest showing up, many of whom are scared to death, many of whom come from a high school environment where their learning was really structured. And for the first time, they're going to have to manage their own time. What advice would you give? And it's easy for them to say, I'm just going to study, get a job, make some money, but they're missing out on a huge, rich part of life, which is athletics. It's the academics outside of the classroom. It's all of the art programs and clubs you can be involved in. What advice would you give to that freshman who shows up on day one, walks around the campus and thinks, I have no idea what's ahead, but it's going to be a wild ride? Mickey, let's start with you on this one. What advice would you give that freshman on day one?
The advice that I would give is to just try things, even if it's out of your comfort zone. When you step into a new place, just try something new. I know it's difficult whenever you do go there and you're the young kid on campus. You have no idea what you're doing. You have all this freedom. I had to prioritize what was important to me, which was my schooling and working hard. But along the way, I found friends by trying new things, showed up to places that were uncomfortable, but I met new people, which was really cool. And especially if you're a part of a team, to communicate and don't hide from people just because you think that they don't want to talk to you or for whatever reason, but just be willing to talk to new people and try new things.
That's excellent advice. Dr. Kilburn, let's go to you next.
I fully agree with that, by the way. Just don't be afraid to try something, and definitely don't be afraid to fail at something, because the growth happens in the failure. The growth happens and you learn the most when the failure occurs. And so you certainly shouldn't be afraid to fail, because the fear of failure can just stun you to doing anything really good in the future.
Excellent. Kristin?
Something I try to tell younger students and athletes is to, you get lost in your daily activities and, walking on campus, is to always have a goal in mind. Start your semester with a goal, but make it achievable. And, then whenever you start to, get lost in the monotony, or whenever you're waking up for the 6 a.m. practices, remind yourself of that goal and why you're showing up. Continue to work on the small steps to reach that goal, but also make sure that you continue to work each day towards that goal. I feel like a lot of people just get stuck doing the same thing every day, or just I'll worry about it next week, or I'll worry about this. I was somebody who always wanted to, get things done right away, get it done so I could move on to the next step to keep moving towards my goals. So I think just having goals, even if you have to write them on a board in your dorm room, just having those goals in mind so that you're always working with intention.
Perfect. That is such great advice from all 3 of you. Well, this has been so fun. I appreciate you taking time this morning to join us and to share your story. I look forward to hearing what others will say about your stories. I hope you feel like you got a chance to relive some glory days today. That's an important part of life, things never to be forgotten. So Kristin, Mickey, and Corey, thank you so much for joining today on the Power of PennWest podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.